after all of this happened with Tom Cruise, he did end up apologizing to her. But I was like, ¿Qué cojones? What balls you have? Because you know you have balls. You don't have a vajayjay. Who the hell are you to tell anyone how they feel when you don't even understand? You will never have a child physically out of your butthole. Okay, that is. I was so pissed off. So I have decided for the last couple of days to stop narrandering around YouTube because as a content watcher, as well as a content creator, I just got a little fed up with some of the algorithm issues that I have when it comes to watching other creators and how YouTube has decided that they know me better than me. And even when I press new to you, I still get videos from people who have not posted for over 5 years or are not active at all on subjects that I really don't give a fairy rat's behind. That's my first rant. So in the last couple of days, on top of trying to take care of a house, cooking, and everything else that I'm doing for my family, I decided to let me try out watching some of the streaming shows that maybe I have not even really thought about because I usually fall into the same streaming crap that, I'll rewatch movies. So I was on Disney Plus, the bane of my existence, along with Netflix, by the way. And I only have Amazon Prime because I'm a Prime member. So, I'm sucked in and roped into that crap. You know that there's not much on. I don't think that it's a surprise. So I decided to go on Disney Plus and I've been watching the title card for a while and I've never really wanted to like sit down and watch it. But the other day something got into me and I said, it's, the story about Brooke Shields, Pretty Baby. Now this was done about 2-3 years ago. So it's been on the platform for a while. I just noticed it recently. And boy, was I shocked when I saw this bio. It's a 2-part series with her in it, talking about her life. And I had absolutely no clue how much that woman has been through. So just to give a little bit of context, the first half is very nostalgic. So if you want to go into the early 80s and how present she was and how she was, manipulated to do certain things, it's a very good trip refresher for some because I was there when I was watching this. I was growing up at that time. And people who may not know about the 80s, I think it's a very good informative time, especially when it comes to certain subjects that are very sensitive that I'm going to bring up that I don't want to explicitly say, but I'm going to use different wording because I don't want to get, banned on YouTube. So the first part I was watching it and she's 4 years older than I am. So she was, she's 4 years, she's exactly almost 4 years older than me. So growing up, I remember when I was watching the first half, I was like, my God, I remember being completely obsessed with this woman. Now, she wasn't a woman at the time. So at the time that she was doing her now famous, or what she's more famous for was movies like Blue Lagoon, Endless Love. Oh my God. We'll get into that one. She was doing a movie I didn't even realize she did, and she brought it up, Pretty Baby. She was in her teens. She was 14, 15, 16 years old. Okay. So me being behind her 4 years, I remember I wasn't allowed to go see Blue Lagoon. That's for sure. My mother was not going to have it. Okay. And when she became the Calvin Klein jeans model and she was splattered everywhere. I thought this girl was just so beautiful and I wanted to be like her, especially her eyes, her color of eyes. And she was not too much older than I was. And I remember just being so obsessed with Brooke Shields, right? And then those jeans commercial came out and that was a nightmare. And the only movie my mom took me to when she was in it was Endless Love, right? And everybody could remember, if you don't remember the song from Lionel Richie, Endless Love. That played on repeat on every freaking radio station back then. Okay. And my mother only took me out of the theater twice in my entire lifetime that she took me to the movie theater. One, to see Jaws. And I remember going to the theater. I remember sitting down. I remember the opening scene where the woman is in the water and you hear the music and you just see her being dragged into the water. I don't remember anything else after that because apparently I screamed so loud in the movie theater from the from the horror that we were told by the ushers that I had to leave. So my mom left and I didn't go to a beach for a good 10 to 15 years. Okay. I would go to Coney Island with my mom to the boardwalk, but I would not step foot on the beach, whether it's Brighton Beach, Coney Island, Orchard Beach, no beach. I would not do it. Probably that's why I found my affinity love for parks. That movie traumatized me because I have not seen that movie in entirety, maybe until I was 28, 29 years old and it was playing on television. Even then I was scared, even though it looked horrible in the sense that, you could tell that the shark was fake. But I know that that really can happen. So I don't like Jaws, period. No. The second movie my mother took me out was Endless Love. Why she took me to see that movie and she didn't take me to see Blue Lagoon, which came out before, I believe, I can't remember. But I remember begging my mom to go see it because I was obsessed with Brooke Shields. And the scene that she is with her boyfriend making love, my mother got so upset. She dragged my ass out of that movie theater. And it was not another good 10 years again that I saw that movie in its entirety. Okay. She was like, no, you're not going to watch this. So I never got to finish Endless Love when it finished. So going through this whole thing on the biography on Brooke Shields was so nostalgic, right? Because there's just like points that come up on things. And I was like, yeah, I remember that. I remember that. Oh, yeah, yeah. And she went through a lot, and I thought she went through a lot in the first half. And I said, whoa. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, and I can't explain it, for me, she disappeared. My fascination with her was over. And that's when I learned in part two what had actually happened, right? Because by the time she became 18, 19 years old and she started to go to college in Princeton, I was already going into my teens, right? So my fixation with Brooke Shields was over. I was fixated with something else. Who knows, right? But when I was watching the second part, I was like, wow, that explains a lot. I remember her vividly, always in the news, Calvin Klein commercials, the controversies with her, nothing. What is this she say in the Calvin Klein? Nothing comes between me and my jeans. It was like a shit show. Okay. And rightfully so when you look at it from the perspective of being older now. But back then I was like, I never got a pair of Calvin Klein jeans. One, my mother was not going to pay for that. Okay. I was lucky I got a pair of Vanderbilts. Okay. If anybody remember Gloria Vanderbilt jeans, you know what I'm talking about. And I wore those jeans until I couldn't no more. Okay. But she was not going to give me a pair of Calvin Klein jeans, especially, when nothing comes between you and your jeans. She was like, I'm not having that. Okay. And all of a sudden she just dropped off the face of the earth, at least for me in my mind. And I never really thought back about her. The last thing I remember seeing her in the last, I'm going to say 15 years was, there was this series called Lipstick Jungle. If anybody remembers that TV show, it didn't last very long. I'm going to say maybe 2 seasons. And that's when I saw her. I was like, wow, I haven't seen Brooke Shields in a while. And then it got canceled. I was like, okay, fine. But I never really thought about her again. And it was so funny because when I'm watching this, I'm like, wow, I was really obsessed with this girl. How's she doing? Oh my God. How she did. I give this woman a lot of credit. I really do. Because part 2 was an eye opener. So apparently after she tried to find other gigs when she got older. She went to Princeton. I think she did 4 years in Princeton. I don't remember any of the news outlet, and it shows that people were following her. I don't remember any of that. Then she became the face of being a virgin for her age, which led into being part of the Reagan Just Say No campaign. I don't remember any of that. I wasn't very much into politics. It was the mid 80s. I was not following the Reaganomics. That was not my mindset. Okay. I was more worried about, AIDS. Okay. But I don't remember Brooke Shields being the face of or being the spokesperson because she had not lost her virginity and she was very proud of this. And this was all part of that whole campaign of, just say no. I was like, okay. I started to get into it. I was like, wow, this is really filling a lot of the things that I didn't know about Brooke Shields. And I thought that she was a really good person. And she still is. So then I come to find out, number one, She starts talking about the actor Dean Cain, which is funny because my daughter-in-law has no clue who the hell Dean Cain was. So I'm just sitting there and she's like, she lost her virginity to Dean Cain? Okay, that's news. I had zero clue. And, people were talking about it again. Back then, we weren't so plugged in. So I keep saying this. It was a time where you choose what entertainment, smut, whatever you want to call it, you wanted to read. You didn't have to read it. It was not splattered on the internet. We didn't have social media. I was like, all right. I actually had a crush on Dean Cain. I never watched him in Lois and Superman, which is ironic because I love Superman. Yeah, baby. No. So I was shocked that she had a relationship with Dean Cain and that she was close to Michael Jackson. I'm like, what? Uh, It is crazy the amount of stuff that happened that we either forgot or we're not tuned in. Like now, you can't forget anything because even if you try, it's out there. It's out there. It's out there. So as she's going through her periods in her life between her boyfriends and who she was hooked up with and who apparently, Michael Jackson was in love, not in love with her, but he wanted to like adopt a child with her. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? This is going to be a sensitive subject and it's going to trigger a lot of people. And this is when I literally, when they talk about second screen, like they do a lot of these shows now because they know people are watching their phones as they're listening to, the TV or they have it in the background. I put my phone down and I watched what happened next because this is when I found a new respect for Brooke Shields. She goes into the story about how she doesn't name the person, how someone was trying to get her back into doing a movie and she went out to dinner with this person and this person invited her up to his hotel room and she was like, okay, sure. She was still young. She was in her early 20s and she doesn't name the person, but I don't even want to say who I think it is. I think we can maybe guess because it all falls into that timeline. And she was in the hotel room and he was going to go out. He went into the bathroom or something like that. And she was looking outside the beautiful view with her binoculars and she came back and he was completely undressed. And for the sake of not being, turned off by YouTube, he attacked her in that way. And I was so taken aback by the way that she describes the incident. If you haven't watched this and you have Disney Plus, it's called Pretty Baby, Brooke Shields. I held back tears for her when I heard this. I was completely thrown off because I'm just watching this. I'm like, is she going to say what I think she's going to say? And she did. So much so that she got herself out of that situation and she internalized that whole situation for her entire life. I didn't have any clue that this ever happened to that beautiful girl, to anyone. It shouldn't happen to anyone, but it was really striking to hear that. And then it doesn't end there. So I remember all of a sudden her popping up being married to Andre Agassi, the tennis player. I didn't follow him very much, but it was very much in the news. So she goes through that whole period about, meeting him, marrying him, how insane he was, and, her version of events of what happened to their marriage. And, all of this catapulted to the fact that her mother was very controlling. And I remember when I was younger hearing about her mother being very controlling and allowing her to be in such types of movies like Blue Lagoon, Endless Love, showing herself off. This movie that she made, Pretty Baby, looks disgusting. And she was 11 years old. Okay. And I remember there was the big controversy with her mom allowing her to be in these films. I never got into the depth of what happened because, again, I didn't know how to get into the depth of what happened. I presume my mom did. So they were saying that she got out of one controlling relationship with her mom, and then she got right back into another controlling relationship with Andre Agassi. And I'm like, and I remember the blow up and how they broke up and all that. It's funny how certain things I remember about her life. And then again, then I didn't watch Friends until it was in syndication. When Friends was actually playing, I was not watching Friends at all. I was not into that Thursday night lineup with Seinfeld and Friends. That didn't happen until many years later. So watching Brooke Shields do that role that she has with not Chandler, Joey. I was like, oh my gosh, she's there, but this is years later. I didn't watch it when it happened. So I actually thought she was really funny. She had a show called Suddenly Susan. I'm like, when the hell did this come on? I didn't even know. Like, she really goes into depth, and I'm just sitting there totally intrigued, still in the processing how she just had to deal with her attacker, in that incident, and she's moving forward with her life, and then she finds the man that she ends up with and she's still with now, God bless her, and how she was unable to have children and that they went through IVF. She really goes into depth, and I'm just like sitting there, and then all of a sudden, she goes through her first pregnancy, and then she has a severe bout of postpartum depression. So much so that she ends up talking about it to Oprah at the time where Oprah had the Oprah Winfrey show. I don't recall this at all because, again, I wasn't an Oprah fanatic. What struck me was that the reception of this article that happened, and I'm trying to remember his name. Oh my God, Tom Cruise. There was a bitter fight apparently between Tom Cruise and what she stated to Oprah about what postpartum depression. And I'm watching this and I'm like, I don't remember this happening back then. And I'm sitting there as if it's happening now. I'm like, Tom Cruise, first of all, are you a girl? Do you understand what it is to go through labor? And it's funny because she made it very, how can I put it? She made it at the time, apparently, and I already had my son. So this is in 2005. I had my son in 1995. So apparently her opening up, talking about it, gave way to a lot of the things that people know about postpartum depression at that time and now. I didn't know that. And I started to think back and I started to say to myself, okay, do I remember people talking to me about postpartum depression in 1995 when I had my son? I don't recall directly. I do recall colic. Like everybody kept telling me, oh, you got to make sure your son is not colic. He's not colic, 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 colic. I'm like, shut. I'm going to be colic. If you continue to freaking tell me about colic, that I remember distinctively. Okay. But I don't remember anyone really sitting down and talking to me about postpartum depression and your hair falling out and the way you feel, the moody blues. Like I cannot tell you that I heard about postpartum depression after Brooke Shields and the Tom Cruise fight. It could have been that it was mentioned to me, but it was never something that was in the forefront. It was not like, here, take a pill or here, go to therapy, that for sure. But apparently after all of this happened with Tom Cruise, he did end up apologizing to her. But I was like, que cojones, what balls you have? Because, you have balls. You don't have a vajayjay. Who the hell are you to tell anyone how they feel when you don't even understand? You will never have a child physically out of your butthole. Okay. I was so pissed off and this is now, I'm like, I can't imagine what I would have felt like back then. So her opening up about it and her bringing it to the forefront and on Oprah and all that really helped a lot of women who were going through it and thought they were going crazy, and they weren't, because her bout with postpartum depression with her first child was so severe. And I was just sitting there and I'm just looking at her. And when you see someone in a whole new light, in a whole new way, I ended watching this documentary. I literally started to clap. I was like, God bless you, Brooke. God bless you. Seriously. If it's something that, you're just meandering around and you're tired of YouTube as well, except for me, please don't be tired of me. Hey, listen, it's an interesting take for people who may have never known about Brooke Shields, maybe looking at nostalgia in a way of the 1980s and how that whole incidents with her and how we are now very aware of not putting children in certain situations on screen. I can't say the word, but you can fill in the blanks. And at the end of the documentary, she's talking to her two daughters because she has now two children. She had a daughter, the first one that she had the bout with postpartum depression, and her second one, she's still with her husband. And her daughters are talking about they would never watch the movies that she was in because they can't understand how their grandmother allowed her to be in it. And, she was showing off her body. And it's interesting to hear the conversation, the table conversation about how grown these women are and how she didn't have control of her life at that time and how blessed she feels. I left that documentary feeling enlightened. I found a newfound respect for Brooke Shields. I believe I read somewhere that she recently suffered a stroke. Her mother has passed away. She had dementia. She was an alcoholic as well, her mother. Her father, she did have a relationship with her father because they had been separated and he passed away a while back ago. And the beauty of it, it was just like for me, it was like, my God, I was so obsessed with her. And then she just dropped off. And now I found this newfound respect for the woman that she has become and the enlightenment of the things that she went through and how she persevered, how she was able to compartmentalize the tragic of the assault, get through that, get into another show. She was on Broadway on Grease. She just went through a myriad of things after that. And then still go through the trauma of not being able to have a child, having a child, go through postpartum, get online, talk to people, help other women. I'm like, you did good, Spider. You did good. So if that's something that you're interested in, if you remember, did you follow through? Did you know that she had this whole thing with Dean Cain? My God. Did you know that she was the face of the virginity thing with Ronald Reagan when he was doing the Just No campaign? I don't remember any of that. Is there a block of time that you forgot about her, or do you not even know who the hell Brooke Shields is? Because if you don't, I would recommend that you do watch it because she does have a place in society and in history that has led to a lot of things being changed now when it comes to how children are presented on television. Let me know if you saw Pretty Baby. First of all, you could not pay me to see that movie, okay? Because the way that she describes it in her documentary, it's disgusting, okay? Did you watch Endless Love? My Endless Love. Oh my God, that song. Did you know about Michael Jackson? Hell, am I the only one that just went blank on her? I want to give my personal thanks, though she'll never see this video, to Brooke Shields. Thank you. Thank you for the documentary and bringing up things that I completely forgot in my formative years. Because again, she's 4 years older. So I was 9, 10, 11, 12 growing up with her. Thank you for bringing to light what women go through during postpartum depression and for the strength that you have to get through that horrible assault that happened on you, which has happened to so many of us, unfortunately. Thank you for being the woman that you've become. And I have become a new fan to Brooke Shields again. So let me know how you felt. I just wanted to pop in and be like, this is not all doom and gloom. I didn't watch every nasty, horrible show, though Disney Plus is pissing me off. I actually am bringing up a really good, two-part documentary. If you have some time, tell me about it and tell me how you sense if it was something that was for you. So I have more videos coming up. I have a lot more videos coming up. So I hope that you stay tuned. I hope for all the new people who stop by for this wonderful little breakdown that you consider subscribing to my channel. And for those who have stayed subscribed and are enjoying my content, you know that I love you to death because, if I tried to show you physically, like I always said, I would smother you. Smother you. So have a beautiful day, week, weekend, month, year. Not just a beautiful one, but a blessed one. So from here to around the world that I reach, thank you for letting me speak and enjoying my content. Goodbye.